The greatest conflict in Monster Hunter history. The raw fury of Mother Nature herself against the sheer iron will to survive bonding humanity. Monsters versus man. The untamed elements versus peerless technology. This is the Great Dragon War. Of which are still being felt today. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, monster hunters. Let me tattle you a tale of the fall of the ancient civilization, their peak of power, and their arrogant descent into ruin. This is one for the history books. This is the history books. Where do we begin? Well, at the start.
Because where else are you gonna begin?
Not to break the mood, but there was a civilization that at the time of its existence was not ancient, but young, flourishing, budding with possibilities and potential as it tapped into the world around it, learnt and grew, and claimed dominion over the land. Now, whether the ancient civilization was a single, unified front, or multiple, differing towns, cities, cultures, and countries that each in their own right were a unique ancient civilization is up for debate. The ruins found across the Monster Hunter world vary in their size, their scope, and most importantly, their location. For it to be a single empire, their reach is awe-inspiring and their power absolute. And if that was the case, it would then follow why it needed every single dragon to rise up unified as one to put an end to them at the cost of themselves in the process. But even then, whether the Great Dragon War was this all-out apocalyptic event, man versus nature, all or nothing, or a series of smaller conflicts and skirmishes, or even a single battle twixt the kingdom of Schrade and Fatalis, is again up for debate. The scholars at the guild pore over the histories, the surviving scraps of knowledge, and what is carved into the ruins left behind. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk on that which is left behind. Nearly everywhere you look, you can hear the echoes of what was. From the everwoods, endless trees, to the waters of the flooded forest and the temple that watches over them, to the many jungles labyrinthing through the land, to the ancestral steppe itself and the towering pillars that are left behind. Even the ruined pinnacle, Valstrax's home, was indeed also home many years ago to this ancient civilization, or at least one of them. See, the pinnacle itself grows in height due to the energy infused into the very earth itself by Valstrax, meaning that it used to be a lot lower before the dragon veins grew and grew to reach the very sky. So the people there long ago could see Valstrax and they revered him. They worshipped him, and they feared him. The Argent Comet was a god to them. And all around the ruined pinnacle, well, you can see ruins of the pinnacle of this civilization. Off in the distance and in the zones themselves, it is everywhere when you stop and take it in. And to imagine these crumbling pillars restored is to imagine something truly breathtaking. There is even carvings as you go higher up, warning of the Argent Comet, warning for you to turn back, lest you find yourself at his mercy. But perhaps the most well-known of all ancient civilization structures is the Tower. The place reaching above the clouds where you clash with Yamasukami and his many
Tentacles!
This structure is massive, and it is the subject of many a research team sent by the Guild, by the Scriveners specifically, and they want every little bit catalogued and explored. For on the very stones that make up this epic monument to what once was, is the ecology of dragons, of monsters. It is blueprints on how to create weapons and technologies that far exceed even current-day Monster Hunter. It is secrets to nature and recipes to power that the ancient civilization held as their own. And by putting together these lost tellings, well, we have been able to achieve some truly incredible feats. The fact that the charge blade and the switch axe even exist is due to them being detailed on the ruins of ancient civilization construction. That is what they left behind, their last gift to us. The Dragonator itself, another product of plumbing the depths of ancient knowledge. There is even depictions of monsters that are not even discovered by the Guild in present day on these stones. Whether extinct or simply unencountered is yet to be confirmed. And there is many a design that current smiths have not been able to recreate or piece together. Truly, the prowess of those that came before cannot be exaggerated enough. And indeed, this tower itself has a mysterious air to it, energy palpable as you approach, as you walk round, as you raise through its floors. Many an elder dragon, many a powerful creature is drawn here, and oft battle is joined twixt exploring hunters and those that have made it their lair. It truly is a point where the past meets the present. Echoes of battles gone and battles yet to be, combining in a chorus of chaos. And there is so much of it still to explore, to discover. And those discoveries, well, might just be the most sinister yet. Though the most sinister part of this tower, and many others, is its creation. Not just mortar and stone. No, elder dragons and wyverns themselves are baked into the brick. In their arrogant might, the ancient civilization would cull and capture hundreds of them, and use their very bodies to raise their structures. This is one of the first sparks that angered the elder dragons, that led to the conflict that would destroy them all. A truly horrific act, but by far not their worst. They would make slaves of monsters, use them as mounts and as guards to their many facilities and castles. They treated them as disposable, as resources to be mined, and mine they did. Though that note of using them as transport, of riding them, some say the echoes of that, some surviving pockets of descendants of the ancient civilization that escaped the war that eradicated it all, might have ended up as the villages of riders, learning from their mistakes, transitioning from master and slave to an equal friendship, a partnership built on kinship and trust. Though whether that can be proved is, well, up for debate, but there is certainly evidence pointing towards it. But the greatest sin of all was the Forbidden Act. By combining the very DNA, the building blocks, the biology of the most powerful dragons, and topped with their own technology, they were able to bring into being their own life forms, building them from the ground up to be perfect weapons, to be perfect guardians of their mighty empire. And this led to the first of these life forms being created, and indeed the only one, the equal dragon weapon. also known as the Wyvern Machine Soldier. This needed an untold body count to bring into being. Able to stand against any naturally living thing, it would be the ultimate safeguard and preservation of all the ancient civilization held dear, designed to tighten their grip endlessly on the world around them. All it actually achieved is ensuring their doom. Not much is known about this bioweapon. Supposedly the guild has discovered one, dead, not functioning, in an ancient storage facility, and have been secretly studying it. And indeed, I kinda like this, because the guild has to have something going on, right? They are a global organization controlling everything in the Monster Hunter world, and you're trying to tell me there isn't something dark or secretive in the bowels of such an entity. There just has to be, right? But maybe that is real-life cynicism speaking. And indeed, even the existence of the Equal Dragon weapon is to be called into question. No mentions of it have ever been found past the initial start of Monster Hunter, and whether it's a forgotten piece of lore, or indeed something that in the future might come back in force, is anyone's guess. You can believe in it, or you cannot believe in it. There is no hard facts either way, outside of the concept art where it is first, well, mentioned and shown. Whether you think this is true or not, the facts are thus. Based on the ruins everywhere in the Monster Hunter world, whatever used to be certainly got eradicated without exception on a global scale. And what could cause such an event than something like this, something so reviling to the very core of the natural world that the Elder Dragons had had enough. They are intelligent, they are sentient, and they had reached the end of their patience, sick of being used as livestock for these, well, prideful humans. They went all out in a conflict that would leave very little left behind but screams, ash, and corpses. This then, the Great Dragon War raged on, both sides throwing everything they had at the other. The destruction cannot be exaggerated, and it cannot be measured. The exact details of what went down are unknown, but there is no denying it is the bitterest, bloodiest conflict to ever occur in the world of Monster Hunter, and likely will never be repeated again. For the lesson, the harsh lesson of it, was that nature must be worked with, cared for, and treated with respect, and then it will return that respect in kind. A symbiosis twixt humans and the natural world is the only world in which they can truly thrive, in a way that does not demand a price of blood. One conflict, though, of course, from this war is indeed known and somewhat documented. That of the Kingdom of Schrade versus the Black Dragon, the evil dragon, Fatalis. The most powerful monster and the greatest enemy of humanity. Filled with hate and power, it turned it all upon those that had slaughtered dragon after dragon after dragon.
When the world is full of wyverns, the legend is revived. Meat is eaten, bone is crunched, and blood is sucked up dry. He burns the earth and melts through iron. He boils the rivers and mows down trees. He awakens the winds and lights an inferno. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destruction. Call for help, run for your lives, and don't forget to pray to the skies. He is called Fatalis, the Wyvern of Destiny.
A song that tells of Fatalis and his returning is common knowledge, and used to scare children that are misbehaving. Whether this great conflict between Schrade and Fatalis was even indeed part of the Great Dragon War is up for debate. It could indeed be a separate, unconnected event. It's the only true battle twixt man and Fatalis of which there is tangible, hard evidence. The kingdom of Schrade was massive, stretching across the land and claiming all. How it came to be in conflict with Fatalis, if not as a climax to the Dragon War, is unknown, but conflict it was. And it is a conflict that, despite its overwhelming might, it would come out the other side as nothing more than smoke and ash. Every part of it turned into a kingdom for Fatalis to nest within, alone, deserted, and just the way he likes it. Castle Schrade was the heart of this conflict, and it is where the final stand of the people of Schrade was taking place, and it was burnt. It was screams, it was fire and flame, it was bones crackling, it was blood evaporating, it was carnage, and then it was silence. Fatalis, as we know, is unlike any other monster, melting hunters against his hide, in a stark mockery of how the ancient civilization combined monsters into buildings and bioweapons. Well, there is no end to the fuel that drives it against all of mankind. Though the only canon, the only true, the only real encounter with Fatalis came recently, in Iceborne, when the general from the guild had the New World Hunters return to the Old and stand against this mighty creature. And indeed, this is where we've got our finally tangible, confirmed information. Fatalis not starting out as the name of the monster, but becoming it, this historic event itself. How the records purport to this almighty monster that destroyed this kingdom. How many think that Schrade and what happened was just a fairy tale, but now, truly, it is real. This was a revelation, and seeing the ruins of Castle Schrade truly as they are, as they exist, was a treat for us all. What was less so is Fatalis still residing there. Whether it's the same one that initially destroyed it, a descendant, or an unconnected one altogether, the point is, here it remained, and here battle was joined, and it was here the Sapphire Star, along with, I guess, Aiden, hello, managed to bring an end to this black dragon. And indeed, this happening in Iceborne was very exciting, because until this point, it had been like 10 years since Castle Schrade had even been mentioned in any actual story-esque fashion, in any tangible way, proving that lore tidbits from very old ancient Monster Hunter are indeed on the table to be brought back and confirmed.
Looks shiftily an equal dragon weapon, and how divisive it is between people who believe it and people who think it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just law, okay? Just interpret it. We can only look at the facts and extrapolate, okay? That's how it works!
But it is awesome that this little chapter happened in Monster Hunter. It really sets the tone and scale of the world and gives so much credibility to its ancient history and indeed to the ancient civilization. So, that is, well, in very short order, how it all went down and how it all used to be. I find the fact that every single remnant of this supposedly ancient civilization is gone. No matter where you look, there is ruins, but no matter where you look, they are ruins. You'd think there'd be at least a single couple pockets of survivors that carried on through the decades and were still somewhat okay, but no, every single one wiped out. That is telling of the scale of what must have happened. And even now, we again still have them to thank, as I said, for things like the Charge Blade, like the Switch Axe. Even the Artian armor is an example of the kind of equipment the hunters, the soldiers of the ancient civilization would have worn. That is how advanced they were, that we struggle to even recreate it now. We would be primitive savages to the technology they held. It takes a chosen one hunter, our hunter, us, to stop and slay elder dragons, whereas the civilization wrangled and slaughtered hundreds of them as just a regular day-to-day thing. Compare that level of skill and authority on the natural world. Though of course what happened was grim and it changed everyone's ways. The few survivors that did manage to escape and form new settlements that met the Wyverians and relearned from them how to actually hunt responsibly, how to commune with nature, how to thrive with it, leading to the creation of the guild and the restoring and regrowth of humanity. But that is a story for another time, and while I would like to do a history of the guild, how it functions and what we know about it, as another chapter to these lore tales, well, I mean, I'm going to, as I said, I would like to, but let me know if that is something indeed you are interested in and I'm not off the mark. And of course there's a lot more to be said about Fatalis and how he functions, but in this tale, he is simply, well, the final boss. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how much of this you want to believe. A lot of it is simply, well, true from old Monster Hunter, but whether they've moved too far away from that in the modern games, and, well, it should no longer be really taken too seriously, is again up for debate. Though I do think Iceborne bringing Schrade into the full-on, this happened, this is Schrade, Fatalis destroyed it, he is here, those are facts. I think that says a lot that, well, let's just say the history of Monster Hunter is not entirely forgotten by its creators. For now, though, well, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.